So forced reproduction is making sure that enslaved women are continuously giving birth, those that are in the age range of being fertile. Enslavers waited to find out when a young girl had her first menstrual cycle. They were like literally wanting to know. Sometimes they would force people to have relations and they would say that you two, we've selected you two to breed with one another. And imagine for a woman and a man, if they have other partners, that they are considered that's their husband or their wife. The enslaver didn't care about that. They were looking at the body, the stock, the physique, all of that. They literally paired two people up, locked them in a cabin, and said, until we see evidence of pregnancy, you're going to be whipped 30 lashes a day.
It's unspeakable.
It is.
And yet we have to speak about it.
We have to speak about it because we haven't. People are in denial at how prevalent this was. And I think to even say that this was breeding is an important statement to make.
Yes.
Because the construct of race made Black women's children innately enslavable, enslavers were assured a profit with every birth. And that assurance became even more important in 1808 after Congress banned the importation of Africans to the United States. With the supply of newly enslaved people from Africa cut off, enslavers had to rely on a single source to replenish their essential labor force, the wombs of Black women. The numbers are staggering. In 1790, the first United States Census counted just under 700,000 enslaved people. By 1860, despite the congressional ban that had been in place for more than half a century, the enslaved population had blossomed to nearly 4 million. And the rape of Black women by white men played a significant role in that increase. Rape was so prevalent during slavery that today, a quarter of the genetic makeup of Black Americans can be traced back to Europe through the paternal line.
That I'm writing an album called The Middle Passage. They've shown us every plantation with cotton on it. You know what plantation they've never shown us, Abby? The most prominent ones, the ones that were most profitable, the breeding plantations. Why don't you want to show us those? You know why? Because after the research that I did for this album, you realize that the moment that a girl menstruated, she was put in a stable where a horse would be and forcibly mated, forcibly raped by a male of the slave master's choice. And when she had children, they weren't called children, they were called a litter of pups. The punishment for raping or killing a person in medieval Spain is gelding. Gelding is when you take hot pincers and you take a man's balls and dick off root and stem. Killing a person, law of the Bible, right? Medieval Spain, super religious. You killed a man, he should be killed. Why were indigenous and Black people categorized as subhuman? So under the law, you would not be punished for the things that you did to us. That's why. You used to be proud, right? You used to be proud, white America, of rape and murder. You used to be proud of colonization. You used to, wow, that made us tough. And then you got ashamed of it. And that's what you're dealing with. That's what America's dealing with, a schizophrenic crisis. There's a British manual, right, that was taken out of the British Museum because within the manual, it talked about how rape was a weapon of war that should be used against the indigenous population. You're ashamed of that now. You're ashamed, right? Who was Christopher Columbus? His image has been so whitewashed, but he was trafficking little girls on an island. Who does that sound like, huh? All you right-wing defenders of Christopher Columbus and his legacy, he was trafficking 9-year-old indigenous girls on an island. Who does that remind you of, you intellectual coward? Just because liberals are dog shit doesn't mean that you shake hands with the devil.
This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 10, and it reads, For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha Kakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also, salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners, and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Ayashar Barazar from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone, coming back at you with another lesson that is edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. And this is yet again another installment of our camps series called For Thy Violence Against Thy Brother Jacob. This is going into the treachery, the murder, the perpetual hatred that Esau Edom, the so-called white man, who is the wicked according to Malachi 1 and 4, has for the nation of Israel. You know, it's that perpetual hatred according to Amos 1 and 11 and Ezekiel 35 verses 5 and 6. Okay, perpetual hatred, and he has not let up, and he will not let up until Yahweh comes back with his angels, you know, at the behest of Yahweh, to plead for his people and save them, and so we can have that eternal life that we yearn for, you know, hasten for. All right. In our own land. All right. So yeah, this is talking about that devil, the so-called white man, and the topic today is the slave breeding farms that, you know, that they never really talk about in school. I got a couple of articles, one from this app called Medium, and that's a pretty good app, you know, if you look into it. Has a lot of our history on it as well, and also have a link from Wikipedia that goes into it as well too. But this whole slave breeding thing, as you just saw on the two video clips, you know, before this video, that was horrendous, you know, and at the end of the day, it was all about money. Okay, all about money with Esau Edom. You know, that's what it is. You know, what value we bring to them. You know, we know that the slaves were the first thing on the on Wall Street back in I want to say 1711. It was the foundation for Wall Street, the slave market, before it became a financial district. And I said, yeah, it was on Wall Street. Wall Street origins started in 1711, and the actual New York Stock Exchange was founded May 17, 1792. So, yeah, that's what this breeding was all about once slavery, the importing of slaves was abolished. All right. So let me get to this article. But yeah, Esau, you got to pay for this one too. More and more, you know, with every story, you know, you are that devil that the Bible speaks of. Point blank, period. All right. And this is the article from the app called Medium. It's called America's Breeding Farms: What History Books Never Told You, and was written by William Spivey. All right, and it goes on. In 1808, America banned the import of slaves from Africa and the West Indies. The impact on actual slavery in America was almost non-existent. There was still some limited smuggling of slaves, but the majority of new slaves in America came from what Professor Eric Foner called natural increase. One could reasonably ask, why ban slave imports and not slavery itself? The answer is because, for many of the proponents of the prohibition, including Thomas Jefferson, the reason was not based on humanitarian concerns, but on economics. The South was producing and selling enough slaves internally that the slave trade was reducing prices for slaves and cutting into profits. Yeah, see, like I said, it's all about economics. But before I continue on, this dude Thomas Jefferson, made that profound speech. Let me get it here. And this is his quote, Thomas Jefferson on slavery and the wrath of God. And let's see, it is OLL Liberty Fund. That's where it's from, okay? Let's get that back. Uh-oh. Okay. And it reads, the quote, Thomas Jefferson on slavery and the wrath of God, found in the works of Thomas Jefferson, 12 volumes. All right. In the lines of this quotation, Thomas Jefferson touches on certain core ideas about what the best life for the individual is and what the moral order of nature demands ethically. It was these aspects of his thinking that were allowed him to make peace with the institution of slavery. And that's a lie, as we'll prove here. Okay. And it goes on. This is so true that of the proprietors of slaves, of a very small proportion indeed ever seem to labor. And can the liberties of a nation be thought secure when we have removed their only firm basis, a conviction in the minds of the people that these liberties are of the gift of God, that they are not to be violated, but with his wrath? And here it is point. I indeed tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever, that considering numbers, nature, and natural means only, the revolution of the wheel of fortune and exchange of situation is among possible events, that it may become probable by supernatural interference. The Almighty has no attribute which can take side with us in such a contest. All right, and that's true. But he said he trembled for his country, like he was really sorry for everything that went on. No, he wasn't, because Thomas Jefferson had over 600 slaves. So while he was saying that smooth stuff, this dude had 600 slaves. Fucking hypocrite. That's exactly what he was. All right, a hypocrite. A lot of them were. All right. So yeah, that talking about you tremble for your country. Oh, okay, yeah. So what? You know what's gonna happen. All right, but you still had no fear. All right, talking those smooth words, and you still got slaves. This is the book of Psalms 55 and 21. And it reads, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. All right. So yeah, he's speaking, all high and mighty in one breath, and a damn demon in another one. All right. But that's just the way they are. All right. Get back to another point in that article. He said, the Almighty has no attribute which can take side with us in such a contest. And what is that attribute? That attribute comes down to righteousness. Okay, that's what it comes down to. This is Isaiah 26 and 10, and it reads, let favor be showed to the wicked, yet he will not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness he will deal unjustly, and will not behold the majesty of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. He has no respect for Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right, nor the apple of his eye, which is the nation of Israel. Okay, it says, let favor be showed to him. He's been given all the fatness of the land, all the riches, everything anybody could want. The earth was given into his hand, according to Job 9:24. Okay? He's destroyed that. He's destroyed the Lord's people. Okay? But it says he will not learn righteousness. And that's the attribute that the Lord has that he doesn't. He has no righteousness, none whatsoever. He can't learn it. Okay? But what Thomas Jefferson said, that attribute is that righteousness. And let's prove that. This is the book of Psalms 92 and 15. And it reads, to show that the Lord is upright, he is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. All right? Zero, zilch. That's that attribute Thomas Jefferson was talking about. Because as we know, when it's time for them to go into captivity, we're going to deal with them, the same way they dealt with us, only in righteousness. It won't be this foul stuff like that's going on here with this breeding farms. Because, I'm sure, a lot of the laws about discovering the nakedness of your mother, your sister, your father, all of those were broken due to this, all in the name of money. All right? All in the name of money. Economics. That's what it was all about. He didn't care about breaking those laws. All right? Yeah, he is not righteous. Again, that's that attribute. This is the Wisdom of Solomon in the Apocrypha 1 verse 4. All right, and it reads, for into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter. Okay, and we know, the thing about wisdom, the true wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, is for the nation of Israel. And that word malicious goes into being wicked, which he is. Okay, Esau Edom is the wicked, according to Malachi 1 and 4. Okay, it says, for into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter, nor dwell in the body that is subject to sin. Yeah, that's talking about him. All right, because if he cannot learn righteousness, he's subject to sin. All right, ultimately, which is death. All right, that's what the wages of sin is, death. And he's going to meet that. That's why that opening scripture says that he's going to be cut off forever. That whole nation is going to be destroyed, entirely when the time comes. All right, and it's not going to be pretty either. I'm going to slide down to verse 8. And it says, therefore he that speaketh unrighteous things cannot be hid. Yeah, he's being exposed all the time now, even by his own people. 365, 24/7, around the clock. Okay? Get back to that scripture. Therefore he that speaketh unrighteous things cannot be hid, neither shall vengeance, when it punish, pass by him. You are not going to escape that judgment for what you did to us. All right? You will not get away from it. Point blank, period. All right? Let's get back to the article. In 1819, another act was passed allowing U.S. ships to not only patrol its shores, but the coast of Africa in attempt to stop slave ships at the source. Not for concerns about ending slavery, but in protectionism for American slave owners. Everything was contingent on the fact that there was a self-sustaining population of about 4 million slaves in America at that time. Southern legislators joined with Northern ones in passing both the acts that banned the external slave trading but ignored slavery. Okay? Just wicked. All right? Most of us are aware that slave owners often bred their slaves to produce more workers. where we are taught almost nothing about the breeding farms whose function was to produce as many slaves as possible for the sale and distribution throughout the South to meet their needs. Two of the largest breeding farms were located in Richmond, Virginia, and the Maryland Eastern Shore. As far as cities I've never lived in, I've spent much time in Richmond, Virginia as anywhere. I've traveled there multiple times a year, often for a few years or a week at a time. Richmond is serious about most of its history. I visited the Edgar Allan Poe Museum. Monument Avenue contains several statues, mostly of Confederate Civil War heroes. Stonewall Jackson, Jefferson Davis, J.E.B. Stuart, and Robert E. Lee are honored there, as is the late African-American tennis star Arthur Ashe, who was from Richmond. In August 2017, Richmond Mayor LeVar Stoney said Richmond would consider the potential removal of the statues glorifying the legacy of the South after issues raised in nearby conflicts and protests involving white supremacists. One major part of Richmond's history is barely remembered, hardly spoken of, and taught publicly nowhere. Richmond is a port city and exported between 10,000 to 20,000 slaves a month to states further south and west. Slavery, not tobacco, was Virginia's primary domestic crop. We were crops. Okay. You may have seen scenes of slaves being offloaded in New Orleans, for example. They were more likely to have come from Richmond around Florida than from Africa. You never hear the names of industry leaders. Robert Lumpkin ran his jail, which was a compound surrounded by a 12-foot fence with iron spikes. Should a slave escape by law, the Fugitive Slave Act guaranteed they would be returned courtesy of the federal government. There we go again in each one of these series. The federal government, the same entity Jake is begging for reparations for, had a hand in your demise. How many times am I going to have to tell you they're not going to do it? You're not going to get it. This is our place of punishment. Point blank, period. That's why we're here. Okay? We will not be at rest. We will not dwell in safety. Okay, until we return to our land. Point blank, period, Jake. Here again, every week we show you this. The U.S. government has had a hand in our demise as a people. Okay? Continuing on. The slave population of the breeding farm was mostly women and children, not old enough to be sold, and had a limited number of men whose job was to impregnate as many slave women as possible. And, you saw in those two clips, the moment she started her period, boom, she was making babies, pumping them out like the alien queen pumps out those eggs, with those face huggers in them. All right. Continuing on, the slaves were often given hoods or bags over their heads to keep them from knowing who they were having forced sex with. And like I said, this could have been with, your sister, father, or mother. And it is believed that's where the term motherfucker comes from. A slave was actually having sex with his mother, impregnating her. All right. Like it's going on to say, it could be someone they know, perhaps a niece, aunt, sister, or their own mother, which is against the law mentioned in Leviticus 18. Okay. The breeders only wanted a child that could be sold. So they didn't give a fuck about breaking the law, especially us. They didn't care. This is one of those things that, which really, hey, they're doing it. We know not supposed to do it, but, They're doing it. They keep us breaking the law over here. All right. That's so we can never keep us further and further away from that birthright. All right. Continuing on, Richmond also had 5 railroads. Slave could be shipped both by rail and boat, which allowed slaves to arrive in a better condition and thus fetch a higher price. Man, all economics. Slavery was more than a man's inhumanity towards man. It was also about economics. Cheap labor that allowed America to compete with other nations, and that you got 1,000% return, off no investment. That is, that would be the pristine business plan today for any business, which is pretty much what they do. They do the same thing with these with the minimum wage. That's what it is, minimum. All right. For every dollar you make, they're probably making $10,000 with these corporations. All right. And then look at, they export stuff to get it done even cheaper and not having to pay any taxes on it. All right. Continuing on, much of America was literally built on slavery. Texas school books are now trying to make it sound not quite so bad. In fact, they want to make it illegal, taking it out of school. Okay, not teaching history. All right, and it says the breeding farms receive no mention at all. And I gotta admit, there's a ton of articles on this app regarding that. Like I said, I'll leave a link of this one and a link of the one in Wikipedia in the description box of the video. But again, that slavery was supposed to have been abolished, around 1807, 1808. All right, but it didn't happen. They changed the law. Okay, they changed the law and kept it going for another 50 plus years. All right, and that's what they do with those laws. This is Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. And that woe means destruction. Okay? That was an unrighteous decree, It's supposed to be stopped, so you turn around and have Jake to do something else unlawful for profit. All right? And you knew this was going to happen. That's why it says prescribed. They knew what was happening, that they were going to stop the ships. For the money that was being spent to have ships at the shores of Africa and here, and that's another thing. You dumbass Jake's asking the questions, where are the ships? Here they are telling you that they use ships to stop it. Where are the slave ships? Just like with anything else, they do stuff to get rid of history. And then they found one not too long ago. All right? Verse 2. To turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and they may rob the fatherless. Hey, in this case, that goes back to those women and children, the ones who couldn't be sold. Okay, the big bucks were definitely sold off other places. Okay, other lands for profit. I mean, it's just a terrible individual Esau Edom is, and that's putting it lightly. He's a straight damn devil, never to be trusted. All right, but as I said, quite often among GMS, Manifest Destiny definitely has a part 2. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, in verse 16, and it reads, Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all they that prey upon thee I will give for a prey. That's pretty cut and dry. Okay? Everyone who had us in captivity, everyone who was our enemy, everyone who had us in slavery, everyone who devoured us, everyone who robbed us, everyone who killed us, that's coming back to you. Especially Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, especially Amalek, especially Amalek. And you know who you are, Amalek. You know who you are. And Benjamin Netanyahu is not the Palestinians. It's you. The Khazars. The Ukrainians to this date. Amalek, the first of the nations, the chief nation of Esau, Edom, ran by the elites. All right? Rockefellers and Rothschilds. Okay? Under them. All right? Book of Revelation, chapter 13. Chapter 13, again in verse 9. And it reads, If any man have an ear, let him hear. So any man that have understanding, let him understand. Verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Okay? Who has led us in captivity for the longest? Us in captivity. Esau, Edom. Okay? Who was the first to kill us? Leaving out of Egypt. Amalek, the head tribe of Esau, Edom. Okay? Who wouldn't let us pass by on our way to the promised land? Edom. Who had a hand in all of our captivities? Edom. So-called white man. Who has had us in captivity since the Renaissance period or the rebirth? Esau, Edom. The so-called white man to this very day. All right? So what you did is coming back to you only in righteousness. Okay? And it says, here is the patience, that's the suffering, and the faith, that's that belief, okay, of the saints. Who are the saints? The Israelites, okay, 12 tribes, not no Israelis, the true Israelites of the Bible, okay? Those are the saints, according to Psalms 50 and 5 and Psalms 148 and 14. All right? And, when you go into this captivity, and serve that slavery, hey, you're going to get it double. Double what you did to us. That's in time as well as brutality. So get ready. That's why we know, that's one of the reasons you coming down with great wrath, because you're about to meet that, you're about to go into slavery. This is Revelation 18, 5 and 6. And it reads, For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh hath remembered her iniquities. And this her is talking about America. Okay? Babylon the Great. Okay? That woman, that whore, the great whore. All right? It says, Yahweh hath remembered her iniquities. Everything you've done throughout history has been recorded, and it is being revealed through the prophets, first and foremost, and like I said, by the tongue of your own people, Yeah. You're being exposed. You know, that's that shameful spewing that's talked about in Habakkuk. Okay? Shameful spewing upon your glory. All right? Verse 6. It says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, and the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Yep. Your captivity, your judgment, it's going to be twice as hard and twice as long. All right? And it's coming. It's in Deuteronomy 30 and 7. It's all over the scriptures. What's going to happen to you nations that did horrible stuff to us. All right? Deuteronomy 30, verse 7. And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them which that hate thee, and which persecuted thee. Let me read that again. And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Who persecuted us? The worst. You know, every nation did, but the absolute worst. Esau, Edom. Okay? Because it was you. It was you. You were the one who furthered the affliction. This is Zechariah 1 and 15. And it reads, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. Yeah, look at you. All comfortable now. You know, like nothing's ever going to happen. You know, smug. You know, you look at some of the comments from you, from you all, you know, about the, you know, when it comes to the arrogance, how we're, you know, beaten down and trodden in the streets, murdered in the streets, you know, boasting in the fact that, you know, we never got reparations, talking about you weren't there, you know, when we proven over and over again, you are your ancestors, you know, you don't get that judgment. All right. Back in the scripture. And I'm very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Yeah. Right when we, you know, are coming to the end of our punishment, you getting worse, just as the scriptures say in Revelation 12 and 12. The devil know he had but a short time. All right. He's gonna be coming down with great wrath. All right, and that's what the, you know, brothers are talking about it in the chat. You know, that's what the videos are about. We're showing you all the new technology that's out there. It's about to get out here ugly, Jake. And I just saw a couple of, you know, videos where you mocking the prophets. You know, this year, at the beginning of the year, was what was declared the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble, and we're seeing it and telling you about it, and you mocking and scoffing still. The 12th chapter of Daniel said, you know, at the beginning, says it will be a time like a time never before in history. So all the tragedies up to this point is not going to compare to that day of judgment. You know, not going to compare. All right. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. Once again, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who were well in teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also, salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird. To you, I say Shalom, Kwam Yasharala. We got next. You're going to pay, Esau. You're going to pay.